Welcome to day 5 of the School of Structure, and congratulations for making it thus far. Okay, so today is day 5. It's day 5. I'm happy that it's day 5, and we are going to be looking at culture engineering strategies for starters. Culture engineering strategies for starters. So it's important that we touch on culture before we end this training on structure, right? Because culture doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists where there is structure. Some of us are looking for great culture, but if the structure is like the foundational work, right? So if I see culture as let's say this is the house, and I see culture as all the fittings and furniture in this house, it means that the effectiveness of structure of culture lies in the structure that already exists. And what we've been doing from day 1 through day 4 is trying to build a foundational framework for our organizations. Just a foundational framework to have a sense of direction, right? To have a sense of direction in what we are building. And after this training, I'm going to really encourage us to go ahead and start having re-onboarding sessions in our different teams. Start onboarding your team members again. Start re-onboarding them. So some of them entered. I know that some of us have been in business. Our team members don't know our vision. We've been in business. They don't know anything. There are no policies. There are no SOPs. There's nothing on ground. It is time to now start re-onboarding your team. You're taking it as though we are starting. You're not starting your business afresh. No. But you're starting the engagement in a fresh way by bringing fresh insights and and vision into what you're building. Day 1, we've looked at vision. Day 2, we've looked at structure. Day 3, we've looked at roles and responsibilities. Day 4, we looked at systems and SOPs. And day 5, we are doing culture engineering strategies for starters. Beautiful. We're making progress. Okay, so I want you to reflect on these 2 quotes. The first one says, the strength of culture is structure. The strength, that's not OD, that's OF. The strength of culture is structure. The strength of structure is culture. They are mutually dependent, right? Both of them are mutually dependent. Culture cannot thrive where there's no structure. Structure cannot thrive when you have not started building culture. So they are mutually dependent. So the second quote here says, culture is never created in isolation. Culture is never created in isolation. Without structure, there cannot be desirable culture. So you want a culture where there is ownership, but there's no structure that even clarifies roles and responsibilities. How can people own confusion? People don't own confusion, right? They own clarity. People don't own confusion. They own clarity. So you want a culture where there is organization, where there's less dependence on you, but it can't happen when you have not established structure. So you see that culture is never created in isolation. Without structure, there cannot be desirable culture. So I hope that helps us. And I said here, you can't say you value excellence or have a culture of excellence and yet have no standards, no SOPs, and no accountability. You forge excellence, you create excellence, you design excellence through standards, through SOPs, through accountability. So you can't be saying we have a culture or we desire a culture of excellence and there's no structure that supports that culture that you design. So you see that they go hand in hand. So if you've gone through school of structure, please be at the culture level, because you need to strengthen and reinforce what you're building, right? So it's important that we get those codes. I hope it makes sense. So what is culture? What is culture? In social studies, when we were still in elementary and all that, they told us that culture is the way of life of a group of people, right? Is the way of life of a group of people. That is the way somebody will behave, and I'll say, yeah, you are from here, or you're behaving like these people, right? Because my attitude, my response, the way I'm acting, or my preferences is telling you where I come from. In that same way, every organization has a culture. Culture is unspoken. Culture is like the air that we breathe. Whether you realize it or not, culture is there. The only difference is that if you're not intentionally building culture, you're unintentionally still building culture, but in this case, an undesirable one. So always picture a garden. Picture a garden that you're not tending intentionally. When you're not tending the garden intentionally, weeds will start growing. The things you don't want will start finding. Serpents, snakes will start hiding. A lot of things will start happening there because there is no intentionality. So culture is the way of life, is how a group of people live, how they think, and how they behave. Now, it's important that I state it here that culture is in the majority. Culture is not how, if you have a team of 10 and only one person is acting in the right way, you have a bad culture. Because culture is in the majority. People judge you by the majority, not just by one. So the question is, we need culture the right culture to permit our businesses so much that we are being seen in a particular light. That if we have bad eggs, we have one or two bad eggs, not where we have a bunch of bad eggs and one good person. Culture is so powerful that it swallows people up. I've seen where good people join organizations and the wrong culture there swallows them up because they're not able to resist culture. It takes a strong strength of character to fight against the norm. That is why our nations are the way it is. A few good people don't change the country, right? So it takes a lot of strength and a lot of determination for a person to enter a negative environment and choose to be the voice of rights. So that's why sometimes I've seen employers who said, this person came in, he was okay. 2 months, he's behaving like the rest of them. What has happened? The culture has swallowed them. See, culture is like a river. It swallows and it vomits. When good people join bad culture, 2 options. It's either it vomits them because they cannot or it swallows them up. About what I said about the parade ground, where you have, when they say take dressing, people pick up traits. Behavior is inherited in the workplace. Got that? Behavior is inherited. People inherit behavior in the workplace. So we have to see what we're going to start talking about through this particular conversation on culture is how do we start. That's why we call it for starters. You want to start intentionally planting the seeds that you want to see grow in your organization. So I said here, culture is what is rewarded. Whatever you reward, you reinforce. So someone does something that is good, maybe they are punctual, and you reward punctuality. What you're saying is that this is what we want to see continue here. Culture is what is tolerated. Whatever you tolerate is still culture. So you think that when you surcharge people for coming late, you're not dealing with the problem, you are tolerating the problem. And the more you keep doing that, it gets ingrained in your business, where you find out that, oh, the problem we're dealing with. Now, when you start surcharging people, I like to use that because that's what we see a lot. And by the way, surcharging is against the labor law. You don't surcharge people as a means of discipline. You can surcharge in it, but you see, when it comes to this, it's against the labor law in a lot of African countries, not just here in Nigeria. So when you surcharge a person and tell them you came late, I'll take 1,000 naira from your salary. Here is what it does. Initially, it starts to work. It starts to work. The people are so scared of losing, but you're not changing behavior. You're using fear. They are so scared of it. And most times, over time, they start to either adjust to it or cut back commitments. So if I come maybe 30 minutes late and you surcharge me, right? What makes you think? And most times in Africa, in most African countries, because we don't pay per hour, we pay per month, we don't pay overtime. So what makes you think that you take 1,000 naira for 30 minutes lateness and then I'm going to give you a free 30 minutes after work? Why? Why should I? Will you pay me for extra time? No, but you've taken the one. So you find out that on one side, it looks like it's working, but in the long term, it kills the vibe of loyalty. It kills the vibe of loyalty. You don't use punishment to change behavior. You use discipline to change behavior. The first point of call in discipline is first of all instruction. If you want real transformation, is internal. Any behavioral change that doesn't begin with an internal reconfiguration is not sustainable. It has to start from inside. Any sustainable change that begins from inside is sustainable. So whatever you're tolerating, when you're doing lateness, you're tolerating it. You're tolerating it and it gets deeper. So what is repeated, whatever keeps getting repeated in the organization means that culture is being established and what is protected. Whatever you protect is also that this is what we want to continue here. Most leaders are very loud about vision, but are silent about values. Your vision and your values must go hand in hand. So when you're going to say this is our vision, your values are the boundaries within which vision is accomplished. If we want to grow and become number one, your value tells you we will not cut corners because values and integrity, because integrity is a core value here. So there are certain things we will not do because we want to achieve a goal. Someone says that, the end justifies the means. Anyhow is a way, or any way is way. Like we say it here sometimes, any way is way. Any way is not way. If it's outside of our value system, we will not do it. Even if it looks like it's profitable in the short term, we will not do it. So the strength of your value is seen in what you, the leader, model to your team members. So I said here, in the context of organizations, culture refers to the values, the beliefs, and behaviors that determine how a company's employees and management interact, perform, and handle business transactions. It is a boundary, it's a context, what we believe, what we value. Value are not just, some of us setting the value system from the day one worksheet. But like I said, go ahead and interpret the value. Don't just write excellence. Don't just write service. Don't just write professionalism. Interpret what it is in your organization and what kind of behaviors you want to see that depicts that thing, the value that you want. Because if you just leave it at words, throwing words at people, you're going to find out that it won't work. So it's the context of organizations, in the context of organizations, culture refers to the values, the beliefs, and behaviors that determine how a company's employees, right, and management interact, perform, and handle business transactions. So who is a culture shaper, or who is responsible for shaping culture in the organization? Leaders are culture shapers. It starts with you. You cannot be one thing and ask your people to be something else. Culture begins with you, in what you model. It's not in what you say. I always love the quote by John C. Maxwell, where he says, people don't want a motto to say, they want a model to see. People don't want a motto to say, they want a model to see. They want to see you live out that culture. They want to see you exemplify it. That is the only way you can reinforce it. So if you're not living it out, you can't expect them to manifest it. So it begins with you. I went to an organization some time ago, and they're in the oil and gas space. So the owner was so frustrated. He kept saying, I don't understand why human beings cannot have integrity. I don't know. He kept on saying it. And my people, why are they? In fact, these people, he was complaining. So I said, so he said they steal from him, they do this, integrity. So I asked him a question. I said, sir, what is the quality of fuel that you sell? Do you sell all this bunkering and all that? I said, sorry. I said, I'm asking, what kind of fuel do you sell? Because if you're selling substandard products, you have trained your team members to also give you that. Because you are stealing from your customers, so you have trained your own staff to steal from you. Do you have adjusted meter? You adjust the meter. Yeah, 1 liter is not 1 liter, but you want your staff to have integrity. Sir, they will not have integrity. And interestingly, that was the last time he told me. He just knew that because he was expecting that I was going to react and say, "Do you mean that they're stealing? You mean they're stealing? Look, bring them, let's start." I said, if you don't get it right, if you don't get it right, I will not partner with you in doing this because you are a culture shaper. You can't ask for what you're not giving. You can't withdraw when there's no deposit of character. So it begins from you. So as a leader, you use the tool of influence to shape culture. You use the tool of influence. You don't force people to act in a way. You will influence them on the path you want them to act. Whatever you want to see in your people, it begins with you. So I want to tell you a story. The story of the 5 monkeys. It's a very interesting and a short story that you will learn from on how it happens in organizations. So just follow this story. Follow this story, right? So a group of scientists placed 5 monkeys in a room, and in the middle, a ladder with bananas on top. That is what you call premium temptation. When somebody wants to tempt you and then they put your favorite thing in the middle, it's premium temptation. So they placed all these monkeys there, and then they put the banana in the middle. So every time a monkey went up the ladder, the scientists soaked the rest of the monkeys with cold water. So see what's going on here. One of them is going up the ladder. The other monkeys are soaked in cold water. So after a while, every time a monkey went up the ladder, the others beat up the one on the ladder. So why are they beating him up? Because they don't want to be soaked with cold water. So if you dare want to climb that ladder, other monkeys will gather you and beat you up. After some time, no monkey dared to go up the ladder regardless of the temptation. No matter how hungry the monkey is, they don't dare. Why? You don't want to face beating by your colleague. So they just respect themselves and stay where they are. So the scientists then decided to substitute one of the monkeys. So they removed one of the old monkeys and brought in a new monkey. The first thing this new monkey did, of course, was to go up the ladder because monkey and banana, 5 and 6. Immediately the other monkeys beat him up. After several beatings, the new member learned not to climb the ladder, even though he never knew why. He doesn't even know why they are beating him. But just because to avoid beating, he said, "Don't worry, I will not climb." A second monkey was substituted and the same thing occurred. Of course, the second monkey will run to go and eat banana. And the rest says, the first monkey participated in the beating for the second monkey. A third monkey was brought in, a third monkey was changed, and the same thing repeated. Of course, both the first and the second monkeys, I don't even understand why they are beating, will follow and beat the new monkey. The fourth was substituted, and the beating was repeated, and finally, the fifth monkey was replaced. Now, we have 5 new monkeys that have adopted a pattern of beating anybody that dared climb up to eat the banana. So what was left was a group of 5 monkeys that, even though never received the cold water, nobody ever poured this one's cold water, but they continued to beat up any monkey who attempted to climb the ladder. Right? If it was possible to ask the monkeys why they would beat up all those who attempted to climb up the ladder, I bet you the answer would be, "I don't know. That's how things are done around here. If you climb, we beat you. Why do you beat? I don't know. But that is how things are done around here."
These new monkeys don't even know about the cold water. They never experienced it, but just somehow there's an unspoken code that don't dare climb that ladder. Right? So this is, it sounds familiar. This is culture. Because there are some things that even in our tradition, even if we go back to our villages, where we come from, our traditions, that we see them manifest, we don't even know why it happened. No knowledge of why it happens. But there is continuity of patterns without understanding the framework that bettered those patterns. There's also a similar story that the preacher shared. He said a young lady, when she's cooking, let me use plantain, for example, and then she always has to cut it into two and cook. The husband always asks her, why do you cut this thing into two to cook? She said, I don't know. That's how my mother cooked it. He went to the mother. The mother came. Ma, why do you always cut this thing into two to cook? She said, that's how her grandmother used to do it. Thank God the grandmother was alive. And they asked, Mama, why do you cut this thing to cook? She said, oh, that she had a very small pot. So it couldn't enter, and then she had to cut it. So you can imagine how culture has been. But even the person who has a big pot is still cutting it. Because we don't even know why we are cutting it. But since we are cutting it, cut we shall. Let's keep cutting. So you have to understand the mindset. That is a mindset that powers behavior.
Every behavior you see your team members express, and even the ones you express, it is powered by a mindset. So if you want to see behavioral change in your team, you have to address the mindset that powers it. There is a mindset that powers complacency. There is a mindset that powers, lateness. There's a mindset that powers any attitude you want to see. The question is, how can we reposition the mindset to birth the kind of actions we want to see? So if we don't want to tolerate it, you have to leave. So culture is unspoken. It's an unspoken code, an unspoken language that people see in your business. Is that okay? Okay. So I said here, you have to see your business as a religion. Every religion I know has two things in common. They have true believers. They are people that believe in the ideology of that religion. For example, in the Christian faith, when they say, oh, I'm a believer, what do you mean? It means I believe an ideology that was propagated by Jesus or by God or what I see in the Bible. If you're a Muslim, it also means that you're a believer of certain doctrines and ideologies and all of that. So across religion, there is an ideology. And because there's an ideology, every religion has believers. So if you're here and you belong to any religion, you are there because you believe in the doctrine, in the ideologies, in what that religion stands for. And every religion has routines and rituals. Every religion has routines and rituals. I'm going to pick up some examples randomly. So for example, I'm not, as of course in the Christian faith we have a lot of denominations. I'm not Catholic, but I see one institution that I've seen that upholds routines and ritual is the Catholic. So sometimes maybe when they have this program or a ritual that they call Christ the King, and then you see them march around, they march around in different sects and all that. Each time I see that, I just tell myself, so this thing is happening across the world. That's a strong ritual. It's strong, right? And even our Lord Jesus Christ, before he left, what did he say? He established a ritual of communion, and he said, do this in remembrance of me. You look through the Bible, because that's what I read, and you see that every time there was a major thing in the life of maybe the Israelites, something is established as a reminder or a ritual. So we have the Passover feast. we have this, we have that. And if you look at the Muslim religion, the same thing. We have the Muslim holiday, right, where they celebrate and all that. Is a ritual that has been created for that religion. I may not be vast in other religion, but every religion has something that marks them apart. From when they meet, to how they do what they do, to how they worship, to everything that they do. Every religion has true believers and routines and rituals. And I want you to start seeing your business as a religion. Right, prayer and fasting ritual. Yeah, there are a lot of rituals, there are a lot of routines, and I'm going to make a distinction between ritual and routines. They're not the same. Right? Ritual and routine. A prayer and fasting can be a routine, and then but I'll talk about that. Let's start with the believers. So raising true believers in your business, how do you do that? Number one, you must communicate your vision so much that you start sounding like a broken record. You have to be a talkative, sir. You have to be a talkative man. You have to talk. You have to communicate it. You cannot get tired. The business owner asked me, say, this thing is getting tiring. You know, it's 2 years now. 2 years I'm doing business. Every time I say I'm talking vision. I say 2 years. A baby, now put 2 years as a child, a baby. The baby needs instruction. The reason why it gets tiring is that we have not created a system around vision communication. We do it randomly. I say, I forgot to do it. This thing is so tiring, so I have to still share vision again. When there's a system of vision communication, you won't see it as tiring. So you must communicate it. If you're not sounding like a broken record, you have not started talking about the vision. One even told me, he says, vision is a secret now. I said, vision is a secret. And you want to have people that have ownership mindset. Ownership will be a secret. Everything will be all of us. Let's play the game of being secretive. It will be they will have secret ownership that you cannot see, and you're complaining that there's no ownership, right? So you must communicate it. You must create a system of communication. Create founders moments. Create times you talk with your team. Create times you share the burden in your heart, because the source of every vision is a burden, a problem to solve, a need to meet, something you want to change, right? So you must communicate your vision until you sound like a broken record. The second way in raising true believers in your business, you must model or demonstrate your values enough for them to seek into the consciousness and subconsciousness of your team. They'll know that this is how God does it, this is how SAR does it, this is how CEO does it, this is how MD used to act. They have to know how you act. You can't be calling them to standards of integrity without modeling integrity. If money mistakenly enters your account and you know that it's an excess, would you refund it? Or would you say, oh, we have network issue, and you eat the money? You keep saying network issue. They are seeing you complain network. So when they steal from you, they will tell you it's network issue. The day you mistakenly pay, I have an employer who mistakenly paid his team member times 2 what she was supposed to earn. They paid that one the manager's salary and paid the manager the cleaner's salary. The lady mainly the money case, she paid her rent. She didn't even ask questions to find out this money I received, sir, is what she just paid her rent. So you have to know that opportunities will present themselves for you to model what it is. You won't just say, you made a mistake, it's gone, sir, it's gone, ma. It's not my fault that this money has entered the account. We don't do refund policy. Someone here from Ghana paid 100 cedis in excess of what he should have paid, and even if he did not tell us he realized he paid excess, we had to tell him that he paid excess. So by the time we saw his message, he says, oh, I paid excess. I said, please, what's the platform for refund? I didn't say, so it's gone, no. Our bank account is a sea of forgetfulness. Once it enters, it cannot come out. No, you have to model integrity enough for it to sink into their subconsciousness, so that when you also do something in excess, they will come and tell you, oh, the money you gave me for this, I didn't spend on to that, and they will bring balance. You know, we have people who never give change or balance. As long as if you send a message, forget it. The entire money was what it costed them to do it. You will never hear that there's change or there's balance, but we must model it. So it rests on you to model the values you want to see. And when you see what does not align, call it out. Sometimes in a meeting, call out attitudes that don't align. When you correct secretly every time, sometimes people don't even know what is allowed because they saw the action publicly and then it was corrected secretly. So to the best of my knowledge, it's acceptable because I didn't see where it was called out. Call out wrong attitudes, not in a way to demean a person. Address issues and not personalities, so that you're not calling out issues and say you're a very stupid person. That's not, you're destroying a personality. You're not calling out issue. A person is separate from the actions they took. Call out the action and don't kill their confidence, right? So call out issues, and when you see someone who refuses to align, please cut them off. You don't manage cancer. You don't want it to spread. Bad culture spreads faster than good culture. I tell you, there's a company, a very popular big company here in Nigeria, where the team members, on birthdays, you see team members buy car gifts for each other. How? They opened a business in that business. They were using their personal POS to collect payment. So even if somebody joins, they're like, and somebody sees that a colleague is buying car, you say, show me way. In Nigeria here, we say cut soap. And if the soap is to steal from you, the soap really cuts. So next year, we're looking at routines and rituals. So routines are activities geared at driving organizational efficiency and effectiveness. So for example, daily stand-up talk. We can have a thing where maybe every day we have a stand-up talk. Okay, in the next slide, you'll see examples of routines. But the goal of routines is to drive efficiency and effectiveness. So daily to-do updates is a routine. It only enhances effectiveness and efficiency. But on the other side, rituals are activities or programs with more profound significance to the company. It's either it's taking us back to our roots, we're highlighting significant events we have done. I know a real estate company in Nigeria, and every 12th of January they have what they call, that's what they call that event, but they marked that day because it was the very first day they got their first deal. So every year they commemorate it in a way that they do and all of that. So when you want to commemorate a thing or make it part of, just to remind us, like I shared with you, the accidents we had in February, as a family, we have created a ritual out of it. So every year we're going to do something to remind us and generations to come that hey, we are not supposed to be here. Because you know I run family how I run business. In my family we have vision statement. We have vision. As a family, we say that our vision is that we're a kingdom of generational leaders impacting and transforming humanities for Christ. My children know that this is who we are, that there's a strong leadership trait in our family. We have our core values as a family. We have our policies as a family. There's a way. So when my children act, I'll tell them, this is not how the Kenneths behave. The Kenneths don't talk this way. And then they sit up and they're like, yes. So you see them correct themselves. This is not how the Kenneths behave, because there's a culture we want. See, every strong family run as an institution. You don't treat family casual. All of these things we are saying, go home and create structure. Don't only create it in the office. Carry this template and go and create structure in your home. Structure for responsibilities. Because even peace, having peace in your home is a structure system. So don't just do it and say, it's only company. That's why when people say structure is expensive, I say structure is expensive. The one you do in your family call. Even me, I'm even in a parenting academy. I'm accountable for my family. They ask us to do assignments. Every day we have connection tools. Do this with your children. Engage them like this. Do that. Be intentional. So structure permeates life. Everything we are teaching here, if you carry it and do your family, you will still succeed. Is that okay? So it is general, is generic, because those your children will enter business tomorrow. They will work in institutions, and if we have not cultivated them properly, they will become the employees that people are complaining about, because every employee you're complaining about was somebody's child. Abi, they did not fall from heaven. It is poor parenting that we are suffering in the office. Poor parenting. What we are suffering is poor parenting and educational system, and that is why your company has become an education ground, because you're remolding people. Whether you like it or yes, you must remold people. That's why you have to institute internal training systems. Stop waiting for consultants. Stop waiting for big name. Stop waiting for all of that. Create an internal system where we keep training and retraining ourselves, and then at periodic levels, every quarter, every half year, we can bring in externals to come in, but there has to be a culture of learning and growth. I hope that helped someone. So rituals are things that are more profound. So in our company, for example, we have our annual Thanksgiving and end of year. For us, it's something that connects deeply with us. It's not just an activity for effectiveness, but it brings a sense of mutual, how do I put it? A sense of communal existence, that you're a part of something. You're part of something significant. So examples of routines. So I wrote here, we have daily stand-up meetings or briefing sessions, right? Some companies every morning, they have a quick charge just to do a quick recap, what worked, what did not work yesterday, what can we push forward, and then they go back into work. You can see culture is daily. It's better to invest 10 minutes every day building culture and have compound interest than wait until end of 1 month to come and start preaching a 2-hour gospel. It's better to do it small. If you have a large company, I know some people here have companies of up to 200 people. What you can do is to start infiltrating these systems through departments, because culture is easier to infiltrate in small groups. It's easier. That is why even in the church system, you see churches will still have house fellowship, small group, because you know that the message from the pulpit may not transform everyone, but in that small group we can hold ourselves accountable. So no matter how big your company is, I tell people, remain small. Remain small is not to in money or in growth. No, through your department, maintain that. See your department as house fellowship, as how you infiltrate culture into the system. Because if you have 200 people, you struggle to pass it on very well or track progress. But through departments, through units and all of that, infiltrate culture. So we also have weekly progress report or win of the week session. So you want to have a win of the week session where at the end of every week we'll share our win and celebrate it. Beautiful. Monthly performance review is a routine that increases efficiency and effectiveness. Book reading and review sessions is a routine. Here we do book reading, we read books, we've even read Small Team Big Results. So that I'm the one leading doesn't mean that my book is not good for my company. It's good for all. Some of my managers even joining on these sessions as we train, right? So team training activities is a routine. Monthly joint strategy and goal setting sessions is a routine. So when it comes to routine, are we recording? Oh, thank God, my mind just caught. This person that just asked, my mind caught. Thank God. Okay, when it comes to routines, it could be anything that can help drive the culture of an organization. Is it clear? Anything that can help us become more effective. So what are examples of rituals? Rituals promote sense of belonging a lot. So weekly team lunches where we encourage team bonding and that spirit of oneness. We can have Friday celebrations where we're recognizing employees' achievement and milestones because we want to foster that culture. We can have new hire onboarding ceremony, right? When a person is joining your business, you can do it in a way that is ceremonious. We're trying to see how to even start doing some of those things, right? You must see how, to have an onboarding ceremony on how you welcome new employees. So team meetings are boring based on the way you do it. It's not the meeting that is the problem, it's the content that is the problem. When you make it boring and monotonous, when you start knowing how you can make it more, when you're celebrating definite things or you're highlighting certain things or the key things that we talk about and how we support each other to move, it becomes something that people look forward to. So it's not the meeting that is the problem, it's how you're doing it that is the problem. Quarterly town hall meetings that foster transparency and open communication. I know a company that does a leadership thing because they have a strong leadership background. So they do a lot of leadership. They have this they call frontline, right? Where they do leadership session for their teams and all that. So this is the routines. I hope you've captured it. And then this is rituals. So it can be anything from here. Ritual, we still have annual company retreats that helps build relationships and align teams toward common goal. We have milestone celebrations. We have volunteer days where we can say we go out to give back to community. We have team outings. There's a lot you can do. So this is just giving you like a framework or a guide to think. You can create, how do we foster a sense of belonging and oneness in our business, right? How can we do this? I was privileged to be a part of a company's end of year party last year. They called me to just come address their team in one of the states in the east of Nigeria here. When I went there, that was the first time. They've been existing for about 15-20 years, thereabout, and they have over 200 employees. And in all of these years, they have never had anything end of year. So they said they were going to do end of year. I was speaking with the owner, helping him put together some things, bouncing ideas to see what could work and all that. By the time we're done, we went for that program. And to his surprise, it took us a week to plan that thing with him. To his surprise, he gave gifts that day. He gave different TV, 42 inches, 41 inches, 32 inches TV. He gave phone gifts. Because of course, it's a very large team, so it's a very big company. And when he was doing all of those things, after he was done, they came and told him, "Sir, just hold on. We want to also give something." These people came out with goats. They came out. In fact, they bought a generator for their GM. They bought rechargeable fan for their production manager. Then for their CEO, they bought goats. They bought food stuff. The man was just like this, looking at them shocked. Right? Going forward, he was going to establish that as a pattern in his business because he never expected it. As he said, he had never that they were going to give him, because he came to give only to be shocked that he received from his team within 1 week of planning this thing. They gathered themselves and were able to give back in that way. So do you see that now, if he makes that a ritual that gives them a sense of belonging, because they're in different branches, but they come together on that day, they know themselves. It's like a large home, right? So we should think, you allow your mind to just go around and say, what can we do? It may not be any of the things that is listed here, but you can actually create something that brings that sense of meaning and to your organization. So I said here, like I've said before, building a strong culture is more of a daily affair. It's more of a daily affair than it is a monthly or an annual thing. You have to be able to distill, to ask yourself, what can I do every day, every week, every month in fostering a strong sense of culture? Because most of the problems you're dealing with in your business is also cultural. It's the culture that is there. It's not even about, it's culture. It's deeply rooted. And when you're dealing with deeply rooted issue, you don't solve a bad fruit by cutting off the fruit. So sometimes we like quick fix. So quick fix is that a tree is producing bad fruit, but we just cut out all the fruit, hoping that tree will now start bringing good fruit. That is why most of the interventions that we bring to our company are short-lived, because we are dealing with the effect, not the root causes. We are looking at the effect of those things, looking at the outside and all. But when you want to do real transformation, you need to get back to the roots. And sometimes the roots of the matter is your structure and your culture. So don't try to do things just on the surface level. Trying to take people's money or surcharge because only came late is you cutting out a bad fruit, hoping that tomorrow is going to bring a good result. You may keep happening. Deal with the root causes. So some daily routines. These are daily activities to engage team members to become one with the organizational vision, mission, and core values. Like I said, an example of a daily routine can be corporate affirmations. When you come to work, disconnect from what happened outside. Let us all reinforce the future we are building as a company. Let's reinforce it together. There is something about repetition. There's something about words. It may not have immediate effect, but over time. I was so shocked because I'd been away on some Mondays, I was so shocked to come to office one day. We were doing because normally we just sit down and we do our affirmation. I was shocked to come. I saw that my team members, they will stand up and they'll put down on their chest and affirm. I'm like, if I've taken it a notch higher, you've gone ahead to start making it look like, you know what you're doing, I pledge to Nigeria, my country. It makes it look like you're part of that process. So I found out that they took it a step further. They stand up, they place down on their chest, and they affirm who we are as a company, and then they affirm themselves in the vision of what we are building. So you can think of how do I? So a corporate affirmation is just an easy way you can start the process. If you already have the book Small Team Big Results, you'll find out that in one of the chapters we talked about that, and we even gave a template. I was talking to one of our business partners recently, and he said, "Oh, we have come up with a company affirmation," and he says, "Now we have our own affirmation. We started out with the one that was in the book, but now over time we have found our voice and we have built our own unique one." Good job. Great. I was excited. A lot of companies I know now do affirmation because we introduced it, and they see how it sets their team on course for a new day. So embed your vision, embed your values in your affirmation. And that affirmation we have is two-sided. There is one that the team member talk to themselves. I'm smart, I am this, I am that. They repeat those words to themselves to also speak to who they are, right? Then under weekly routines, so these are weekly activities to engage team members to become one with our vision, mission. So we can have so like I told you, we have the big Monday that happens every week. Every Monday we have vision casting. This vision is casted by any of the team members. There's a routine for it where they take it in turns, and when you're casting it, we are listening to understand your interpretation of it. So you don't interpret where we're not going. You're not wondering, is this really our vision? I'm shocked. I'm really shocked that this is the vision that. So it's good that they sound it back to you and explain it. They also talk about the core values and explain the core values in very practical terms. You can have a book review because you're trying to build team members with a growth mentality. And then we can have training presentations. Let your team members train. Let them train themselves. Let them train. It helps them to learn how to speak and how to grow. And then we have weekly evaluation meetings and all of that. So whatever it is you want to establish on a weekly basis to help you in building culture, beautiful. Then we have monthly routines where we have joint strategy sessions that allow us to cast the vision on a broader scale, do performance evaluations and anything. So it's just for you to sit and ask yourself, this vision that we have, these values we have established, how do I embed it that every day I am taking a step to build something sustainable. Okay, so I like to repeat my quote. At this point, you should even repeat it with me, sir. Your business, maybe you should even affirm it. You should even say it with personal pronouns. Your business is a divine solution designed to solve the existing or future problems of humanity. I will not let it die. I will not allow things discourage me. I will not allow things make me feel bad. I will preserve this vision. I will nurture it. I will steward this vision because generations to come are counting on this solution to see how to preserve it. Okay, concluding thus says culture is like the air that we breathe. It is invisible, but it's always there. That's a quote by Brian Walker. It's like the air we breathe is invisible, but it is always, 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 always there. We just need to be intentional about the culture that we are building.